What's up, everybody? We are back. This is Jason, and we have From Heroes to Icons. We're going to do something a little bit different today, showing some of my other collections that don't have anything to do with comic books, but I collect them just the same. In this video, I'm going to be showing some of my PlayStation 1 video games, the ones that I haven't sold, and the ones that I'm holding on to, as well as some of the digital PlayStation 1 games that I have downloaded on my PS3. I do have a few strategy guides left also, as you can see in the background, as well as some others that I'll show before I show my digital collection. So we're going to start off with I'm going to show this game. Street Fighter Alpha 3, which I laid it back there because it's not in the original case, which I don't know what happened to that, but it's one of the, when Street Fighter was still cartoony and everything like that. I don't know how I still ended up keeping this game, but what you gonna do, right? It's pretty cool. It got Alone in the Dark, A New Nightmare, which is, I guess like a cross between Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Not as good either way, but still an excellent game. I thought I had the strategy guide for this, but I don't know where it's at. It's a pretty good game. Got Hoshigami, Ruining the Blue Earth, and this is a strategy role-playing game that probably no one has ever even heard of. But it plays, if you would play a role-playing game that plays like chess, it's kind of like that, similar to Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, something like that, to that effect. Of course, got Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, and this is not the original case, and I do not have the demo for Dino Crisis that came with this. This was a awesome game. You just hear Nemesis in the background, and then he just bursts out of nowhere and snatch you up and chase you. Great old school game. One of my favorites here. So do them in order. The Breath of Fire by Capcom. They kind of abandoned this game. And all of them from Breath of Fire 1 on up, the main character's name was Ryu. And he was like a dragon man or something like that. He was like the descendants of dragons. And then later on throughout the game, you could like transform into it. These games were like 16-bit greatness. You can't get enough of these games. I don't know if, oh yeah, it's regular, but you can't see it. Really awesome turn-based role-playing at its finest. And I have also the Breath of Fire 4, which I think this was the last one that they made for the PlayStation 1. And you know, it's when they started doing that time jumping stuff and all of that. Another great turn-based role-playing game. They had all different types of races. You know, some look like Thundercats and stuff like that. It was really pretty dope. Really nice game. This was more 3D than the other ones. All the other ones were more pixel-based. And one of the most famous PlayStation 1 games, and I lost the first one, so I had to go with the PlayStation Classic, of course, but I needed it, and that is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or some would say the best Castlevania ever, and I have to agree, this game was fire. As you play as Alucard, the son of Dracula. And it was, oh man, you beat the game, then the castle flips over, and you go through the entire castle again with the castle upside down. Pure fire. Again, not the original case, but glad to have it in my collection. And another of the greatest hits, wow, a must-have for any person who has ever owned a PlayStation 1, Metal Gear Solid. Again, one of the greatest in the series. And I actually got this game kind of by mistake. I was playing one game. This is when you could still return your games to GameStop. And I had a game. I don't even remember what it was. I didn't want it. I returned it. And I went to exchange it for this game. And the guy was like, well, if you can't beat the game that you're returning, you won't be able to beat this. Yeah, I fooled him. Beat this game a couple of times. Definitely one of the best games of all time. And going in on my binge of genres and series. Got Final Fantasy Origins, which has both the original Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2. This is remastered editions, but some of the best stuff that you could ever play in your entire life. We love it. We love it. We love the old school JRPG stuff. Don't get no better than that. We got Final Fantasy Anthology. What is this? I haven't. This is Final Fantasy 5 and Final Fantasy 6, which for us was like Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 3 or some such like that. But definitely Final Fantasy 6, one of the best games that you could ever play. And I'm not bragging or nothing, but I'm glad. Original Black Label for all of my Final Fantasies, I believe. Definitely, it gets better, but it really don't get no better than that. Final Fantasy Chronicles, which is Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger. Which I have to say, Chrono Trigger originally on, is it the Super Nintendo? Yeah, on the Super Nintendo. Was one of the first role-playing games I ever played. And the only reason I picked the game up because the cover artwork looked like Dragon Ball Z. And I was right. The designer of the game was Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. And definitely my middle daughter just beat Chrono Trigger. Always glad for the classics. Always glad. Game is fire. And Chrono Trigger, as his name says, of course, is a time-traveling game. One of the offshoots of Final Fantasy Tactics, is one of the best Final Fantasies I've ever played. I'm not a fan of chess at all, or any type of board games like this. But this thing, I think, has over like 30 job classes in it, and you can interchange your character's job classes and combine them and stuff like that. But it plays like a 3D chess game. Really, really dope. Awesome storyline. And some favorite characters from other Final Fantasies actually pop up in this game. A must-have. Black Label, same case. Cracked or not. A must-have for any Final Fantasy collector. And of course, the greatest Final Fantasy of all time, right? Final Fantasy VII. Cracked and all, my original Black Label. Wife told me not to sell this one, so I keep it as safe as possible, which ain't too safe, but it's 21 years old, so that's pretty dope. And I do have this game digitally on my PS3, and I don't know, I guess seeing the new Final Fantasy remake trailer just made me want to pull this out. A magnificent piece of artwork, the orchestra, the cinematics, everything for its time. This game right here made me want to get a PlayStation 1. One of the not so loved Final Fantasies, which I have no idea why. I guess I'm getting soft in my old age. But I love this game, Final Fantasy VIII, which is a little bit more futuristic than most Final Fantasies, and the people are much more human looking, as in scale and such like that. But a very enjoyable game. Nice love story, if you dig that kind of stuff. And the battle mechanics were unlike anything else that they've ever had in a role-playing game, but I enjoyed it. The junction system was dope. You could take these, the summon avatars and actually equip them to the different characters, and they would augment the character's abilities. It was pretty dope. And we had to like stockpile magic and stuff like that. Awesome, awesome game, and I think it has a very famous love song that's connected to it. Eyes on Me, or I don't know. It's a dope song though. And Final Fantasy IX, which most people just adore. It's one of their greatest Final Fantasies out there as far as the fan base goes. And I guess because they went back to the regular job classes and that little cheapy size characters, and also since Final Fantasy VI, which in America was Final Fantasy III, was the first Final Fantasy, you could have 4 characters in your battle team at once. Really great story. Another one, always pulling at the heartstrings and stuff like that, and a great set of characters, all different races, which was dope. Some I ain't never seen before, but the game is great. They definitely need to give this the Final Fantasy VII treatment. And my last hard copy game is an obscure game, and the first role-playing game I ever bought for my PS1. And I'm so glad I still have this. And this is Beyond the Beyond. To me, the greatest sleeper hit of the PlayStation 1. This game is fantastic and very different from some of the other games that came out for the PlayStation at that time, especially as far as role-playing games are concerned, simply because of the fact that when you got halfway through the game, when you kind of reached level 50, you had a trial to go through, and you went back to level 1, but your characters aged, and they're like young kids, and then they turn into like teenagers, so they kind of like mature, and they get like a whole new skill set. You had this little dragon here, Stenner. Even he, like a Pokemon, I guess, he evolved into a giant-sized dragon. The game is dope. Really put you in the mind of grinding, and how, this generation doesn't understand like what it means to get into a game and grind and really go hard. But these are my hard copy games for the PS1. I'll be segueing and show you my digital copies. But let me show you these real quick. Also have Breath of Fire 3 strategy guide. I got my Breath of Fire 4 strategy guide. I said, well, I still got these. I collect comic books, so why not collect the strategy guides too, right? Got Final Fantasy IX strategy guide, and you can see that they are beat to shreds because they're my original ones. The Final Fantasy VIII strategy guide. And not just for the information in them, but, you know, like the character design, artwork, and all of that is still in there. And I have my original disintegrated, beat up reader copy of Final Fantasy VII's strategy guide. So I will be showing you my digital PlayStation 3 games in 2 seconds. Hold on. Alrighty, I'm gonna show you my digital PlayStation 1 collection, and then we'll call it a day. Some of these titles I have the physical copies of, but I don't use those anymore, so I downloaded the digital version. You got Suikoden 1, which I think was one of the first role-playing games that I got for my PlayStation 1 back in the days, and I sold the physical copy of that. Suikoden 2, which also I sold the physical copy of that. Parasite Eve, I don't think I have the digital copy of Part 2, but I sold both of these. This was a Christmas present from my wife, like back in '97, I think, something like that. Wow, that was a long time ago. Wild Arms, nice Western role-playing games, pretty dope. Graphics are super dated. Final Fantasy VIII, which has yet to be remade or even given superior HD graphics or whatever like the rest of them. Shameful. The game is dope. Final Fantasy Tactics, let's say the best chess game I've ever played. Chrono Trigger from Nintendo 64, super dope. R-Types, one of those arcade shooting type games. I don't know if there's more than one R-Type in it. This is R-Type, so it should be more than 1 or 2. Resident Evil, the director's cut, always gotta have that in your collection. Awesome. Alundra, I think this was one of the first action role-playing games for the PS1. Tomb Raider 2, personally one of the, if not the best, Generation 1 Tomb Raiders ever made. And we have, hands down, I guess, the best Final Fantasy ever, Final Fantasy VII. And last but not least, we have Final Fantasy IX. I hope you guys dig this video. Just something a little bit different, showing the various different things in my collection. And I guess I will catch you at the same bad time, at the same bad channel. Peace.